Oh,
So the way we do it,
tell you later.
it's free form. It's no script. You just talk. Just
Okay.
think about what your daughter would say if she saw it. Somebody gave me a good piece of advice. Classic.
My mom said I cuss too much.
My parents.
Since we just found out my mother was a big fan of the show. So that's pretty cool.
We have that kind of show where only our parents enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Tens of people turn in every week.
So are we on air right now?
We are rolling, brother.
Oh, okay.
Rolling. One of the guys, remember, I say this, one of the guys, when I started this, that I said I had to have.
Yep.
One of them right here.
And he doesn't get blown out too very often. So somehow today, you must have canceled your trips.
I called him. I said, are you out there today? It's raining. It's now blowing less than 20. First time it's blowing less.
Blowing hard enough.
Yeah. 37 he's out there the other day. Blowing.
And I didn't get him wet.
Did you get him?
We caught him.
That's not true. You didn't get him wet going. You got him wet coming. There's no way you could cross Davis Channel 19 feet.
Oh, that day I got him a little bit wet. But I told him if we went down there, we were going to get wet.
I passed you one day coming back. I was in the crack. You were coming by.
Anyway, let me introduce.
If it's blowing, we're going.
We're blowing, we're going. If it's blowing, we're going.
It's the only way to fish nowadays where it's uncrowded. Same offshore. You go when it's rough. There's nobody out there. It's great.
All right, Captain Reese Stecher, beach bum fishing, in it, the original. I'm talking about OG.
OG, I know.
OG status.
Taught me a lot.
He doesn't even know what OG status means, but he's OG status.
It's like a old guy or something?
Yeah, exactly. Henry will tell you. Your son will let you know.
Yeah, it was 15 years ago that I started mating Reese, so that would have been
half his career.
Yeah.
He was already halfway into it by then.
I know, but you were always nice to me in your own way.
Nobody works harder. I mean, seriously. There's nobody in this business that works harder. Maybe has more boat issues than anybody I know in this business. Is forced to work harder. But it's nothing for him to break down, tow it 2 hours, get it worked on, bring it back and fish the next day, or leave it, go get it, take everything out of one boat, put it into another boat instead of having two boats completely set up with stuff. It's just easy. It's easier to.
Well, that would cost more money.
We might be doing that this week too.
Oh yeah, your boat's fucking up again.
Yep.
Oh, well.
But I think we maybe have it figured out.
All right, give me an embarrassing story. Then we can come back to driftwood. Embarrassing. 27 years of doing this, I'm sure you did something once, twice.
There's been a few.
Give me one. Yeah, I know. I can always come up with one. It better be a good one. Try to make it less than 19 minutes this time.
Was that how long the last story was?
Yes.
Well,
No, the whole thing was 19.
That one. Well, I was talking about it the other day.
You can talk about the dog?
The dog.
And then the dog go on the shoals once and dog didn't come back?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Well, you can tell. It's your story. Tell whatever you want. I can tell. I know that story. I can tell that one another day.
Well, I know I told it the other day because I had somebody that knew this guy, Frolke. You met Frolke?
I don't think I've
Guy from back home. He's got a place up in Duck.
I know.
But Frolke's dad, who?
Lintzler?
The Leaning Star.
I know. Who do I know? I know Jersey Johnny. Yeah, you've done it a bunch. I was getting ready to break your fingers.
Well, they all still call you Monster Truck Donnie from back when you used to have that monster.
My son wants a monster truck Jeep.
Oh my gosh! Did you ever see the truck he used to have?
No.
It was a Bronco, 89 Bronco with 7 inches of lift
Tires
and 35s.
like 49 inches tall.
Had 35s on it.
I don't know. It was huge. But so Frolke's dad and his buddies went on the boat, and it was the same deal. It was at the bridge, and we were on the. Remember, we used to sit on the backside, and you could tie up behind the pole, and they'd be up top, and you could cast finesses, and you could catch 100 fish. And, some of them, a few of those were legal. Usually the ones up high were short. But the people loved it. I mean, you could catch 100 fish. Usually we go in there, you catch 20 or 30, and you go do something else. But I was in there, and Frucci came around the corner, and the current was screaming, and he got wedged in. And I believe this was after Frucci, and I said, it wasn't blowing real hard. And that was with the old boat. I thought I could shoot him between the piling and the fender system and skirt out of there. Because I'd done it before. And I went in there, and the same thing that happened to me that happened to Frucci. The current wedges up on the side of the bridge, and that old boat wasn't a real, it wasn't a sturdy boat. What was it, a Sundance?
It was a Sundance skiff.
And there's 4 guys on the boat. Frucci's good, but now we're screwed. We're wedged up against the fender system in one of those old steel pilings with barnacles all over, and I started hearing fiberglass cracking. And the one guy starts freaking out. And I'm like, man, everybody's got to get to the right. I mean, the boat's slowly starting to lean, and he's freaking out. And I told him 2 or 3 times, you got to get over. You got to get over. We're in a pickle here. And finally, I remember I grabbed him by the hood and I drug him up front, which I don't think he liked me doing, but he was half panicking. And we finally got out of there. And when we got out of there, everything was total silence on the boat. It was a very uncomfortable moment. The guy who I grabbed him by the hood, I think I hurt his feelings. And we get out of there. We're good to go. Everybody, I mean, it was a hairy situation. Frucci's boat broke and sunk. We were probably this close. So I took the boat over to Slaughter Point, and I put the anchor up on the bank, and we're kind of regrouping, and I start retying. Okay, we're not going to go fish there anymore. I don't think they wanted to fish there anymore after that. And we start smelling smoke. Remember the old boat? I had a casting platform up top, but the hatches were underneath, and I had a foot motor on there, and I had 2, batteries up underneath, and that's where my life vests were. You might smell smoke. I opened the hatch up underneath there, and it's just red flames, orange flames everywhere. There was an electrical fire, and all my life vests were on fire. And we get everybody off, and they piled up on the shoreline. I'm spraying down the underneath, all the life vests were on fire. Yeah, it was an electrical fire. And
I didn't know the story.
Brokey, he was in town a couple of weeks ago. And whenever he's in town, we talk about it. He's like, yeah, my dad, they won't go fishing with you anymore. He still fishes with me. But he's like, it was a little too much. So yeah, after almost sinking the boat at the bridge, what were the odds of having a fire 5 minutes later? But it happened, I swear to God. And oh yeah, everything was tore. I was probably down for about a week, but yeah, same day, 5 minutes apart.
That's a good one.
So that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Oh, I guess we could. I know I've got a couple more.
The one with the dog.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
They don't work on the boat.
dogs go, but don't come back. That's a good story.
Well, that was on the shoals. I had another one when I used to fish over there at the 32 bridge. Oh yeah, the dog's fine. Dog's fine. It's gonna be fine. We weren't fishing 5 minutes. The dog took a dump in the boat. Everybody stepped in it before we realized the dog had taken a dump. And I'm like, because I tell him, I say, I don't. And I think that might have been after the one on the shoals. When I said, I got a policy, no dog. Well, we're not going unless we bring the dog. And that's what that guy said. Dog goes with me. I said, it's not a good place for dogs. And we're fishing. It was rough as hell. It was one of those days where we're just going to go in and catch a limit, and we're leaving. And we'd hooked a couple. We needed like 2 more maybe. And remember we used to go in that slough. We used to sit in that slough. And I think that was back in the days when we were catching casting. That's before we were fishing eels. But you slide out and a wave would bump you every now and then. The wave bumped us. Dog went over. Dog went over. I watched the dog go over. And the dog, I watched it. It went under. It went down and it popped out on the other side. And this guy I don't think he was married. I think the dog was like everything to him. I'm pretty sure. He's an older guy. And he was looking on the left side. The dog was gone. He was almost crying. I mean, he was freaking out because he thought his dog was dead, but it had floated on the other side. I'm like, man, it's over here. And we pulled around. We netted the dog. And I told him there was a big discussion before we left. It's not a place for dogs. Well, we're not going. He said, we're not going unless you bring the dog. And, the off season, we needed the money.
Tried to tell him.
And
netted the dog.
We went in, we took the dog in, and I think there were two other guys, and one guy finally said, "Okay, I'll say it. He told you so." Because I had that look on my face the whole time afterwards. But oh yeah, the guy thought the dog had drowned. It was, yeah, that was a good one.
All right, give me a trivia question, Reese.
I
don't want to come up with your own trivia question for you.
I know. You must have a good one. How many fire extinguishers did it take to put out that fire?
Just one.
Generally, big numbers work better than. Or
what's the biggest cobia we ever caught?
There you go. Don't shake your hand. That's a good one. I know the answer. That's a good one.
Is it a big one?
I'm not telling you. That gives it away. I'm not telling you.
I know it's a big one. All the cobias.
You do this shit every time we have a trivia question. You try to tease out some sort of hints. All right.
Well, it had to. All the cobias this guy's caught, it had to have been a big one.
I'm not telling you what it is. Why? Not everybody catches big fish.
I got a funny fire story.
We're not done with him yet. This is not your show. Not your show.
All right.
Reese's show.
Sorry, Reese.
This is Reese's day.
It's not my day.
It's all about
waiting for this day for a long time.
Yeah, I've been trying to get this day for a long time.
Every time we shoot a podcast, I say, "When's Reese coming?"
What's Reese's biggest cobia? And it's probably not going to happen this year. He probably won't top it this year.
Yeah. I'd have to catch one in order to catch a big one.
How about that, man? We've really changed. Anyway, Reese's biggest cobia. Send it to me however you want to send it to me. You know it by now. All right, give me your story.
Oh well, the fire story just had.
Is there somewhere that you bang on your chest in the story?
No. It was just one morning, Virginia Beach with Bobby, and when I first started
good stories from there
with Bobby and Cato. I think he'd had a big night the night before.
No,
and he didn't have many of those, but I think he had the night before because he was on the radio whining about.
Were you living in the condo with those guys up there?
I live with Bobby in the condo.
McDonald's?
What's that?
You were at Donald's place?
Right there, Dolphin Run condos or whatever, right there across from
the big high rise. You were there that year.
Yeah. I was late to the party.
Fraternity house they were living in.
No, I wasn't in the frat house.
It was like being in college again.
Him and Cato and Kane.
Yeah, me and Bobby were mellow.
And William Spence.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, God, we should have William on to tell the hospital gown story.
That's like the most all-time classic.
Anyway, so Cato is just on the radio. Oh God, I just feel, it's feeling bad. And, he's got his little wheelhouse and he's got an electric heater and we're kind of right beside him. And all of a sudden he goes quiet on the radio and I look over.
Feet were on fire.
And, he's got all of a sudden one of the side sliders opens and there's smoke coming out of there. Anyway, he finally comes back on the radio. He got mad or something and knocked his heater over. And he did just, looking for marks, didn't pay any, and then just started smoking and his whole salon caught fire with his little propane. I think his little propane heater. The propane, he had spools of line. I think the spools of line, they got to melting that strand and the spools of line just went up in flames or something like that. But it was to hear him tell it he put it out and kept fishing. To hear him tell it on the radio that day after he was not feeling good, and it was just, man, it was funny.
We had a guy on the boat the other day who was telling a story about somebody getting drunk and pissing in the closet, and I said, I know somebody that story. He said first time he knew he'd made it. Then he got really drunk, and his girlfriend accepted him because it was her house. He got drunk with her, and he peed in her closet. She woke him up, said, "You're pissing in the closet."
She let him off the hook.
Yeah,
at least it was the closet.
We were talking about. Were you there the day, Virginia Beach? It was one of those big weekend days, and for some reason, I had the boat on a trailer, and I was cutting. That was when I was staying at my aunt's house. She had a condo right on one of those, on the canals. And I was pulling out, and I saw these guys I know from Edenton. And I waved, and they waved back at me. And I started to go, and they pulled forward, and they cut me off. And it was like, and then I got the trailer blocking all the traffic. Everybody's honking. It's bumper to bumper. But I'm blocking off the other side because my boat's in the road. The people going towards... we were going to the boat ramp. They were going towards the,
Charter Basin or whatever.
City, whatever. They're cussing at me. A cop comes up. And she wrote me a warning ticket. I'm like, look, these guys waved me. I would have never gone. And when we got down there, I got on the radio. And I called them. I can't remember. They were brothers, and they were big guys. I'm like, man, I can't believe y'all did it. What are you talking? I said, I looked right at you. I said, hey, you gonna let me in? And then you waved, and then you cut me off, and then I almost got a ticket. I'm like, I can't believe, you made me late, blah, blah, blah. Rick took over. Because I think they were newly part-time captains, and Rick took over on the radio, and he got going. And I told people, I said, I don't have to do anything anymore. And they started going at it. And like I said, these were two big guys. And then Rick told him, he said, look, I'll take my charter and let's meet down at the dock. And Rick said, I'll be the one holding the gaff if you have a problem finding me. And I called those guys. I called the guy, 20. I mean, they went at it on the radio forever. And those guys they're big guys. They were cussing real bad. Rick was, it went on for like 20 minutes. You must not have been there that day. Were you there that day? It went on the radio.
But then again, my radio had like 3 miles of range, remember?
I called those guys. I said, look, I think you guys are jerks for what you did to me. I said, I'm not calling you for that. I said, don't take him up on that offer. I said, what are you talking about? I said, he will have a gaff.
Maybe something else.
He will have a gaff. Just let it go. So, at any rate, that was another good one.
Those were the days. Would you say that you've really mellowed out as you've gotten older?
Yes. A little bit.
When's the last time you yelled at somebody on the water?
I don't know.
This year?
It's possible. Remember the shoals. The shoals used to be the worst.
I know.
Because they'd see you catch a fish, and they wouldn't realize that we had half a mile line behind the boat. And we'd get all the way on the one end. We'd dump them. We'd dump a pin 850.
Yeah.
So we could be safe. And
You never did that with us, did you? When we started shooting the shoals and dropping,
No.
You tapped your guy on the shoulder. You drove. That's all you did was drive. You tapped your guy on the shoulder.
You dropped one.
And then you space him and tap the other guy on the shoulder, but you never took your eye off. And then
Stagger.
we were fishing 200 yards of line or more out the back.
And when the
Run
birds,
in, run out.
No,
and when the birds
off.
were there, you tap them on the shoulder, you dump them out, you look at them, okay, lock them up and get ready. You lock them up and they go,
Yeah, we'd run across. We'd shoot across the shoals all the way across the other side.
Oh, wow.
That way you had the tide. That way you could keep it forward with the tide, pushing like if the tide was coming in, you'd keep her on, so your butt kept pumping her in gear so you wouldn't get sucked in. That way we could theoretically fish it safe, other than running across 8 foot of whitewater.
we started working smarter. But we used to
And
dump
then once
them.
you got across, you catch your 2 fish. Could you run back or back
boy,
across
there's the
and
show.
fish back the other way?
No, you looped across.
But then we would start like on an outgoing tide. You could drop them in that slough by the jetty.
Mm-hmm.
We drop them in there way back, and the fish would be 3/4, and you'd be okay. Well, it's safer. It'd take you 20 minutes to get to where you get to bite. But that's when it would get ugly.
Yeah, people would cut in.
You'd hook one, and some ding dong and an outboard would run up and cast a bucktail, and wouldn't realize that we had 100 yards of line out, and
Run over
then
your
they'd have a
stuff.
fish.
Yeah, people run over, people tangle you, and then some people weren't as cool about it as me.
There were a couple times I might have waved my arms.
Yeah.
But it's just so frustrating because that whole process would take, if they were in a bad spot, you drop them in that slough. It would take you 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
You get one, and then somebody run in and cast over you. And
Yeah,
Anyway.
it was time consumptive.
it happened.
Yeah, we were all a lot more aggressive years ago.
You had to be.
What about when you
it
had the Craig and Tom on the boat
What about it?
from Vermont?
Yeah, what about them?
When you took the wave.
Were they the days that I wrapped one day I got braid, shut me down. Got braid, I kind of drifted back over my own shit and and it shut me down and I'm laying dead in the water and got hit side two. Bobby was running to me, saw it coming, man, and then I got side two, rolled me over, filled up with water on one side. Dude's on his back like a turtle in my deck, just full of water. That was one when Bobby got me in there, west of the bridge.
I know one time you got them soaked.
Oh no, this was the one where my guys. That's where everybody just sat there for when Bobby got me towed into where it was
Oh yeah,
Oh.
when you had a scare like that, you would
Yeah,
pull the
nobody-
tie up to the bridge and you just sit out
Yeah.
and just everybody would be quiet for about 20 minutes.
Nobody didn't said anything. I'm
You don't
glad.
have to go back out there if you don't want to. There were a couple of those.
It was scary because every year you saw somebody flip.
Yeah, we're lucky with
I mean, we were all that day, and then
We might be lucky that's not going on anymore. I mean, think about
Yeah, it was hard not to go because and I mean, I'm not the most religious guy, but every morning, please watch over us. And we get down there, it'd be blowing. It's too rough.
Look at us,
And
we're
then
doing a striper show.
And then we drive over to somebody would drive over the bridge.
the last one we're ever going to do.
And you'd see the birds. But it'd be rough as shit. No, we're not going.
Yeah, we will.
And guess what?
Somebody would go.
Aaron,
No,
I got 5 kids at home. I got to go, man. And Aaron would, if one of us goes, then everybody would go.
Oh yeah,
And
I
if
know
we'd
all
be
about
out there,
that.
we had no business being out there.
yeah, it's like that shit out there right now. But they'd be right there, and you say they're on the corner. You can just kind of
Yeah,
cheat
we
to
just
that
hook
corner.
2 or 3 and go in.
Yeah, next thing you know, man, it's just
Next thing you know,
Next thing you know, the
all
lid
day.
of your cooler's off, and there's beer cans floating in the water behind the boat, and there's fish floating away, and you're trying to circle around and get them, and you got people bucketing water out of your boat because your bilge pump can't keep up with it.
I can't believe it. I mean, they talk about guys in towers now. You know, that I don't know if insurance wants to cover that. I mean, that's the shit that I'm glad insurance companies didn't see was that kind of stuff right there, man. They would just said, "We're not covering this. We're not. It's just a matter."
The Coast Guard, he pulled up to me one day. I think I was out. Remember Ashley?
Uh-huh.
I think it was out with Ashley, and it was starting to get rough, and the water started to get low. And he pulled me over and he said, "You do that one more time, reckless endangerment." He said, I said, "I spent a lot of time in there." I said, "But you're right, it's getting a little bit low." He said, "That's my last pass."
It was cool. It was a neat time for sure. But it was crazy. I mean, I remember going. You know, like I said, my grandfather was buddies with Frucci, and we'd go with Frucci. Then we'd go. But usually we would just do the bridge stuff, and he's like, "I'm not taking you."
But he would fish that alone. When he died, he was alone. You can't go out there and fish alone. It was,
Yeah. Yeah, he was usually by himself. Usually he would meet us in our boat, and he would be in his. He had a little trolling motor, and he'd buzz around right with his trolling motor, buzzing around the bridge.
I would never fish and run the boat at the same time when we were fishing those. Volk, were you there today when that wave almost got Volk?
No, I was there.
We watched it. It was like the Titanic. No, not the Titanic. What's that movie?
Perfect storm.
Perfect Storm.
Andrew,
We
yeah.
watched him. He had the boat like mine, but it was a shorter one. It was Nona J, and we watched him ride up that wave. That's, oh my God, I'm watching my buddy die. And it's coming. I mean, it was huge that day. We should not have been out there, but they were biting. And he just made, and that boat went off the lip, and we just saw him disappear off the side. I mean, he was airborne. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, he came so close, but yeah, he was lucky.
We're glad. It's good that shit's not going on now.
Yeah.
Now, you know.
Well, with social media and everything today, I mean, there'd be 100.
Oh, then people would be lying.
boats out there.
There would be multiple deaths.
All right, we got to go to our sponsor, TW's.
TWs.
They're really good to us. They're sponsoring us again today, giving away a reel after Reese's trivia question. All right, be right back.
Red button.
Red button.
Yeah, Donnie D from DOA and Misguided Fishing. Check it out. TW's got everything you need to catch all the fishes. The rods, the reels, string, baits, from all the guys that make that stuff. Shimano, Daiwa, Penn, St. Croix, Yoseria, Meat Hawk, etc., etc., etc. You want to look fly when you're doing all that catching? They got you covered with gear from Salty Crew, Pelagic, Extra Tough, and more. You got questions? Ask away. TW's is staffed by people who fish every chance they get. They got their finger on the pulse of Outer Banks fishing. I haven't even scratched the surface of this place. It's like a toy store for grown-ups. So check out TW's Bait and Tackle in Nags Head, the Outer Banks' largest tackle shop. Milepost 10. And now, back to Misguided Fishing.
I hope so.
We'll see. But yeah, it might be in the yellow boat this week.
And also, before we got to, you ventured off a few years ago, you're an entrepreneur, and started another business. How many years are you been in the driftwood business?
Since 2011.
And are you?
Since our friends from the government shut us out of striped bass fishing in the ocean.
We don't talk about those.
And so how's that going?
Well, I was
Seriously,
boxing driftwood today, and Donnie told me I had to come over here. So
I did not tell you. I said, what are you doing?
customers,
I said, are you
they want their
fishing?
driftwood shipped.
I said, it's Sunday. Who's shipping on Sunday?
Well, it's got to be ready to go tomorrow in case somebody calls and want to go fishing tomorrow.
You guys fishing tomorw?
I don't have to trip.
Yeah, I got to go fishing tomorrow. And now if I don't, he'll get mad at me.
If it's windy, I'll take your people.
I haven't fished in 8
Donnie's soft, Reese. He's soft.
Yeah, I just spent
He's
2
not-
days. I just spent 2 days sitting in a recliner reading a book. Yeah, you can call me soft. It's okay.
Yeah, me too. It's fine.
But all right, dude. Start backstory. How long you been in the business? Everybody does it. Do you remember when you got in the business?
1997. We were fishing over at Man's Harbor a lot,
Yeah.
and I was kind of into catch and release. But then,
Because you had a different boat, and what did it say on the side of the boat?
catch fish, have fun, guaranteed, or your money back. It didn't go over so well with some of the locals, and I figured that out after about a year.
Wait, it said that on the boat?
Yes,
Catch fish, have fun, guaranteed, or your money back.
They didn't like that.
Rick really didn't like it.
I bet he didn't.
So that was 97. I was hiding in graduate school then, before I even knew you. I was freelancing, as they call it, offshore during the summer.
Stripers at Man's Harbor.
We were fishing there a lot, and then we discovered that the fish were bigger down at the inlet. So
Around the bridge.
yeah, they were a lot bigger down there.
Live croaker.
Yep. You get a bite for every one you had.
Yep.
If you had 50 of them, you get 50 bites. And they were drummed down there too. So, yeah, I kind of, it's probably the second year I moved a boat over to, I started putting in Wanchese instead of Man's Harbor. And then I got a boat slip. I think it was at Alan Doe's place first.
Yeah, you were, which is Wanchese Marina now, which was Jaws Seafood. Working man's dock is what you called it.
Yep.
It was just a bulkhead. You tied up
Yep.
side two on a bulkhead. Alan was a joy.
Yep. I did the same thing every day when I filled up with gas. It was a real high dock, and I would put the gas pump up on the dock, and I'd ride my boat back over. And I'd done it every time. And he saw me do it, like, after I'd been there for a year. And he didn't like it. He wanted me to hang it up before I went, and he had some anger issues. And
Somebody want cheese? Anger issues? No.
everything had gone smooth before, and I remember Bobby Smith saying something to me like, "You've never had any problem?" "No, he seems great." And then he just snapped that day, and that's when I started shopping around. Then I went to Thicket Lump. Can't remember how many years I was there.
You went Thicket Lump the year, because I'd paid a deposit at Thicket Lump.
I loved Thicket
You
Lump.
told
It
me.
was great.
Yeah, because it was
No politics at all. It was laid back. But that was a money issue because I filled my tank up. I rode down to the bridge and I rode back, and it was $11. Gas was pretty high that year, and the slip was open at the fishing center, so I took it. And then the first day I was at the fishing center, that was when we were fishing for the big stripers on the shoals, and we had a big catch that morning. And I came in, I had the afternoon open, and that was back when people used to troll up and down the dock, looking to see who had a good catch. And I swear to God, they almost got in a fist fight. There were two groups that wanted to fish in the afternoon. And Aaron's like, "Well, how's the boat slip going for us?" I said, "It was pretty good because it paid for
You
itself."
have people fighting to go
It
fish
paid,
in.
yeah, I booked the afternoon. I'm like, "Look, guys, y'all gotta settle this." They literally were getting ready to get in a fight. So they finally, I don't know, I can't remember what they did, but yeah, so I picked a trip up half a day into it and it paid for the slip for the month. So right then and there, it was a good decision.
Yeah, that was when there was no other. I mean, Thicket Lump was the only other marina. It was before any other marina in Wanchese.
Yeah.
Nobody was striper fishing in the winter then, except some small boats and Rick and Devin, I think, and Bobby.
And how about you remember I was just thinking about the pilings because I started doing that with you remember Al Frucci?
He was the best.
Yeah, him and my granddad were buddies, and I remember like being like late 90s, early 2000s, and he would go on with him on his bass boat.
You could not, he was always the first boat out.
Mhm.
And if he was on a bite at the bridge, and he would not use bait either. He would fish bucktails, and he'd spike it with squid. And if he got to biting or got to catching them, and you didn't want to fish next to him, because your people would start looking at him. Well, why is that guy catching him? I said, because he's out every day and he's the best.
Kind of like when
He was good, dude. He was good.
when there was a bite at the bridge in this what you called the suicide hole. A lot of current. You didn't want to get drug in there backwards, and we'd all go in there and take a shot, take a chance, catch our fish. Except Reese would go in there and cull them. And I just need one more. I just need one more. And he's taking them out of the live well. And now your people are just sitting here watching him catch fish while you're waiting for your chance to get in there. And really classic. Made everybody feel good.
I would tie up on the backside though, which none of y'all would do.
No, that's when
But that one morning Frucci was up on Frucci flipped his boat twice on the shoals, I think. The second time was when he fractured his skull.
That killed him, right?
But he also got squashed in the suicide hole with the current, and his boat, it broke up and sunk. And remember Robbie, the fishing bum?
Mm-hmm.
Robbie came around the corner, and Frucci was up on the defender system like a bird. I was like, what are you doing there? He's like, well, my boat sunk. So he had done that. He flipped it, and then the second time he flipped it was I think it was the second time he flipped it. That's when I think he fractured his skull. He was still alive, though. I mean, that guy was a badass. Did you see his forearms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And supposedly he was the most highly decorated fighter pilot in the Vietnam War. So, and we did sell a piece of driftwood once that we pulled off of Jet's Point. And it was huge. And we called it the Al Frucci piece. And the people that bought it, the woman bought it for her uncle, brother, somebody that was a veteran. And it was a big deal because we called it the Al Frucci piece, and we had a story behind the piece. So
maybe you ought to do that with all your driftwood. I tried
some of them getting
I scouted some driftwood for you a couple weeks ago, and you just turned your nose up at it.
Yeah, that was.
You just said, no, I'm not going to go get it. Left it there over that island west of the bridge there.
You would appreciate this. A buddy of mine in Indonesia just he sent me a text the other day. He found a 600-year-old mahogany stump in a river. The Indonesians found it had been submerged in a river for several hundred years. I mean, it was as big around as this room, and he got it and they cut it into big, thick slabs. Kind of cool.
He would have towed it. Peach Bum would have towed it in. He would have called some people who had a charter on board, had them helping. How many times have you done that? How many times have you double dipped? Had people on boat paying you to go fishing.
Who's fishing next week is Paulina and
yeah, I got Paulina and them on the 4th.
And
Kevin.
Well, you could add that.
Paulina and Kevin. We were fishing one day a couple years ago, and I saw a big log up on the shoreline. But part of it was in the water, so it was legal. So we towed it off. I asked him, I said, I'll fish you all an extra hour if you help me get this on the boat on the way in. And we did. Yeah. And I think I sold one half for like $500. That was a real pretty mantle. The other half rotted out. It's in the backyard getting ready to go in a fire pit. But yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, I bet they get into it. You start telling about your driftwood business, and you're like, look at that. How about that one, right? You could probably say, hey, guys, fishing slow. Why don't we go look for driftwood? And they'd be like, hell yeah.
Some of those days when those tide lines after a storm, you see it all floating west of the bridge. Once I'm done, I'll go back out.
Yeah.
So you got to do what you got to do these days.
But you turned your nose up at it.
Anyhow,
I'm going to call the next guy. I'm going to call your competition. You have competition?
The aficionado get in?
We all get along pretty good in the
driftwood business. How many driftwooders are there down here?
You call people to a bite, and I'm really getting them over here on this island.
How many guys are in the driftwood business?
Well, like the two of the guys, Russell Berry was the best that ever lived. He died a couple years ago.
Oh, that's the guys that helped you.
He was the godfather of the driftwood business. He started it all. That guy probably pulled $1 million of retail driftwood over the course of his life. I guarantee you. And then Dallas Twine took over. He was the main supplier, and then he died last May, maybe. And now there's a couple other guys that do a real good job. Henry's wanting to get in on it. I don't know. I used to do a lot of it, but I don't have time.
You don't have time to make it grow the way you want to make it grow.
I have time to, it's a lot of work going and getting it, and
You have to prep it.
I got in trouble with my wife about having so much in the driveway, so I slowed the cultivating up a little bit.
All right. So seriously, that's a great question. What do you have to do once you collect the driftwood?
You got to take pictures. You clean it, take pictures of it, put it on the
Clean
website.
it. What do you do? Power wash? Any chemicals involved?
No,
Just straight power wash.
straight up,
Let it dry.
straight up.
So it dries and bleached looking.
Well, then you got to put it out in the sun. At 6 to 8 weeks, it'll gray back up.
Yeah.
It'll gray weather back up. So yeah, there's
Do people call you and say, I want you to find me this type of driftwood?
sometimes.
Really?
Sometimes.
So custom. They want I want a 4x5 piece of driftwood or something, and I need it.
There's a lady in Colorado that we've been back and forth. I've been back and forth with her for the last couple of days, and she got bombed this morning. I bombed her her cell phone and her email with pictures of about 20 pieces.
Before she woke up, you think? They're 2 hours behind.
I just,
They're 2 hours behind.
I mean, they describe what they want over the phone or over a text, and it's hard to grasp exactly what they want. So you just send them pictures, and hopefully she's going to see a couple that she likes.
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
You're the driftwood. I mean, you're the driftwood king now.
No, I don't know about that.
You.
We're talking too much about driftwood.
We are.
Great. That was,
That's right.
yeah.
Anyway, you're a long-winded dude. I told you I'd have you home in 30 minutes. You've been going on for over 40 now. Anything else you need to talk about? You want to get back to driftwood a little more? You want to pump it up? Seriously, how can somebody buy?
We don't give it away, but a lot of people listening to the show use wood to mount their ducks and other species that they kill. I've got really good wood for that.
If somebody wanted to buy a piece of driftwood from you, how would they find you?
The world's second oldest website,
Is it a .net?
www.outerbanksdriftwood or obxdriftwood.com.
You got to have nest tape to get to it.
That's on. I got that on Instagram now too. It's
No way.
OBX. It's just OBX Driftwood.
It's at OBX Driftwood.
Ad or pound sign,
It's at.
hashtag.
You're getting it, Reese. You've come so far. How about your picture last week?
Picture.
You got a lot of positive compliments on that picture.
Oh yeah,
You ain't
Donnie
talking- 28
Donnie
I don't
juiced
need
it
it.
up.
28 and the 29-inch spec one day last week.
Dang, that's nice. I heard there's been some nice ones back there.
He catches them.
I tried to let Henry reel the second one, and he won't take fish from me anymore. Because I hooked the first one, like 10 minutes later, I hooked the second one. I went, reel it in. I'm not reeling your fish in. He's always reeling fish in.
That's cool.
He's too cool for that. Yeah, I got like,
That's really nice. Like 5 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, something like that.
yeah, I looked. We did that once years ago, but I looked. I was wondering, it was on the 30th of May, a few years back. We had a 28 and a half and a 29 and a half same day, 10 minutes apart.
Wow.
But this was the 21st, I think. So,
Well, hopefully this weather will mellow out and we'll
Yeah, man.
they'll be waiting for us.
yeah, they'll probably be up in Coin Job.
We'll run down there and it'll be just clear.
That's nothing for you, Reese. You can get there.
Hey, you're not afraid to run the coin job.
They're on the trail.
That's the yellow boat.
Run on up there.
All right,
One up there.
Let's wrap it up. Reese, OG, Driftwood Magnet,
Yep.
beachbumfishing.com. Is that still a thing?
Beachbumfishing.com, www. Yeah. And that's, the Instagram for that is beachbumfishingobx.
That's right.
I think you told me to do that. Somebody told me to add the OBX.
Always good to have the OBX. Give him a follow.
So,
Check him out. Guy catches them. Jack, aficionado, Reese, Donnie, DOA, Charters. Check us out. Misguided Fishing
Welcome
Podcast.
back.
Welcome back. Get this one out for you. Oh, yeah. One more time. Biggest cobia ever. You win a reel from TWS. I forgot. They're giving us another reel. But check us out on YouTube, Spotify.
Apple Podcasts.
Thanks. All right. Well, you did great.
I don't think we should do that.
Misguided Fishing has been brought to you by TW's Bait and Tackle, Nag's Head. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should have all that driftwood stuff.
It's the way it works. It's just, it's
Because you know it's